I'm happy to have here in the studio with us today Lenny Wolf, who is a follower of Bob Avakian, a longtime revolutionary and one of the leaders of the National Get Organized for an Actual Revolution tour. Lenny, welcome to the Revolution Nothing Less show.
Sansara, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be on a show that's doing such important work right now. And it's begun and it's got a great future, and let's all get together and really make it everything it can be.
All right, well, we're glad you're here to help us do that. You know, earlier in this episode, we showed an excerpt from Bob Avakian about internationalism from the speech Revolution Nothing Less. And in the opening of that excerpt that we showed, he said, you know, compare the Constitution for the new socialist republic in North America, the Constitution he authored, to what we have today. And I thought for this segment, we really want to actually open up this Constitution, look at what it opens up for humanity. So I want to just set the stage. I'm going to read a little bit, and then I have a number of questions that I'm hoping you'll take us through, Lenny. So that everybody's clear, a revolution is the overthrow, the defeat and dismantling of the ruling authorities of this existing system. It's cleared away. So this Constitution is a framework and a blueprint for a radically new society, economy, laws, structure, culture, a whole different way. And right in the beginning, on page 2 of the preamble, it makes this very important point as a foundation for the whole society. It brings alive the basics quote that Andy mentioned earlier, internationalism, the whole world comes first. And it says, the orientation and principles of this state, as embodied in this Constitution, are internationalist. While giving due emphasis to meeting the material, intellectual, and cultural needs of the people within this state, on a continually expanding basis, and to promoting the further transformation of society to continue uprooting social inequalities and remaining aspects of exploitation and oppression, the socialist state must fundamentally give priority to the advance of the revolutionary struggle and the final goal of communism throughout the world, and must adopt and carry out policies and actions which are in accordance with and give concrete effect to this internationalist orientation. So I know that's a big thing to open with, but I just want to have you speak about what does this mean concretely?
I think the key phrase in there is give fundamental priority to the advance of the whole world revolution. And I think you can, and that is an application of the whole world comes first. And you're applying that all the way through the period that you're building up to the revolution. You're not making a revolution in the heartland of empire merely to free the heartland itself. You want to bring down this whole empire that's sitting on humanity like a vulture or like a vampire sucking its blood. And that has implications for how we build up the movement now. Why we train people to welcome the defeats of their own imperialists when those imperialists get into conflicts, how we challenge people on their feelings for America that have been drummed into them from the time they're born. And this will come out as well, as B.A. talks about in the clip we showed today, in the actual moment of the revolution, in the build-up to the revolution, and then in the revolution itself. When you make revolution in this country with that stand, it's going to have a very powerful effect all over the world. Think of the effect in Mexico. Think of the effect of people in Mexico rising up back on this country. We've got to have the whole world in our sights all the time from now until the end. And this is going to be tricky. It's going to pose contradictions at different points. That's something that's addressed in the Constitution. It's something that you can read about at revcom.us. But and maybe we'll get to it today, but all that's bound up. Those are just some of the dimensions bound up in that quote you read, both from Basics and the quote from the Constitution.
Okay, so to carve into this a little bit more, let's talk about, right now the U.S. has military bases all over the world. It's a history and a legacy of occupations, invasions, war crimes. What happens to all of this?
In brief, it all gets dismantled. There's 800, almost 800 military bases projecting U.S. power and domination around the world. These are in other countries, not the U.S. There's a total for the next three highest countries put together of 30 bases. All these are no more. All these are gone, as is the whole apparatus that's been used under Republicans and, yes, under Democrats, if not more so under Democrats, to terrorize and carry out unthinkable and untold horrors all around the world. Vietnam, Korea, up to Iraq. All this is no more. That's the very first thing.
What about nukes?
There will be the socialist state will go about dismantling the nuclear weapons that the U.S. has, which is by far the largest total of nuclear weapons in the world. The new state will safely dismantle, and figure out how to decommission these nuclear weapons, because we have no use for a weapon that is designed to kill and terrorize civilians.
Okay, so what changes in the economy?
Well, let me begin that answer by reading from the Article 4, Section 9, page 87, which deals with the international dimension of what changes in the economy. Of course, there's going to be tremendous changes all through the economy. This Constitution goes deeply into that, but it also goes into the international dimension in quite some detail. I want to read one section of that, Article 4, Section 9 in the Constitution. The structure of production and the resource base of the socialist economy cannot depend on labor and materials from other countries, much less exploitation and domination. The development of a socialist economy must not involve the export of capital. For example, building factories or making loans for profit. A socialist economy must not reproduce relations of domination and inequality in its international relations. This question, too, must be put before the masses of people as part of their coming to more deeply understand and to act on the basic principles on which the new socialist republic in North America is founded and according to which it must proceed. On day one, we'll begin moving to dismantle international supply chains that have sucked the blood of the people of the world as part of reorienting the entire socialist economy. It's going to be a whole different thing. We're not just taking over things as they are. We're reorienting economy in line with the original quote you read, and also another important part of that, as well as meeting the material needs of the people and supporting revolution around the world, will also be repairing the environment. All these are going to enter into things. But this international dimension is really critical.
Okay, so two questions. What does that mean concretely for people around the world? Dismantling supply chains. I just want you to, that's a very sanitized term. It's a real term, but it masks sort of what that means.
The oil companies that suck the blood and in the form of petroleum out of the ground and pollute things. The mineral mining concessions, quote unquote, in Africa that enslave children. The sweatshops in Bangladesh and Pakistan and Haiti that grind up the lives of young women and, yes, child labor. All that's done, okay? That's no more day one.
Okay, Lenny. What you're describing, though, the implications of it are that people won't have as much stuff in this country. Their standard of living is going to go down.
In the immediate sense, and in a basic sense, yes, that's true. There will not be the endless stream of gadgets, of what are little more than toys, of what are the stuff that's based, stuff, as you said, that's based on what's been sucked out of the blood of the people of the world. At the same time, there will be something very different. First of all, there'll be a society that is still doing everything it can to meet the material needs of the masses of people, the real needs. You have a country now where 40% of the children are food insecure, and a number are starving. We're going to move on that. That's a priority. It's a priority to meet these needs and lift the bottom up as we do so. But there's not going to be the gorging, the trying to fill up empty lives with stuff that's not needed, that's not meaningful. And instead what there'll be, you're making, in one sense, you're getting less, but you're getting much more from this revolution. People around the world, but including in this country as well, the creativity that now is suppressed, the feeling for humanity that now is suppressed, the ability to live and function communally in a society that now people are divided into little atoms, constantly competing with each other. All that is no more. And instead you have people working together to overcome the scars of the past, to forge a different relationship with each other and with the web of life itself, to repair the damage that's being done to the environment by exactly this parasitical style of life that's been promoted and held in front of people as what to strive for, as if human beings are just mice in a maze chasing cheese. This is a society where people can be really human. And it'll be a fight, because there'll be people who want to go back to the old way, okay? There'll be people who say, well, I want my stuff. And the important thing, or one of the important things about this Constitution, and it's contained in what you read, is that there's an unprecedented robustness of debate. There's an unprecedented role for dissent, for diversity of opinion, for elections that are meaningful, and for participation in the running of society under the leadership, yes, of the vanguard, who does have the whole world in mind. All this is it's part of what makes this such an unprecedented and amazing document, and something people need to get into. We're confident that on this basis, we can win that struggle. It's going to be wild and woolly, and it's going to be hard, and we're going to learn a lot of new things and have to learn a lot of new things, we and those who come after us. But we think that this Constitution, which is based on an understanding of what's gone on in the past, where they've made tremendous advances and where they've run into obstacles and been unable to solve it, this holds the key. It is the blueprint, as you said at the beginning, the blueprint and the vision of a whole new world.
Well, Lenny, I'm so glad that you came on the Revolution Nothing Less show. Thanks for coming and talking with us about this.
Well, it's been more than my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me, and I just want to ask the audience again, remind you, go to revcom.us in the morning and get filled in, get the bigger, your appetite has been whetted by what these folks here have done today, and I think this is a further step in that.